Jennifer Priest here to share with you how to create this really fun, unique scrapbook using ephemera and all different sizes of pages. And this is a great thing that you can give as a gift for Valentine's Day. So you're going to need a cover for your album. You could use just chipboard, some ephemera and pages, paper and embellishments, acrylic paint, and some Tombow mono adhesive glue. You'll also need to choose some papers. Here I'm using papers from Carolee's Boutique, and they're super cute, and it comes with these pages that you can kind of cut them apart. They have journal blocks, so you'll want to cut apart all your journal blocks and go ahead and start cutting all of the papers that you want to use. So I'm taking my little UPC strip off, and then as I go along on this book, I'm going to be cutting the pages to different sizes. Next, you'll want to take all your different pieces of ephemera and chipboard and page protectors, all the different items that you want to include in your book, and arrange them in the order that you want them to appear. Now you'll want to mix the sizes and types of page so that it stays interesting. So you don't want to have like a bunch of tags together and then a bunch of 8x8 pages together, because it'll be kind of boring. And in this book I'm using a mix of 6x6, 5x7, and 8x8 chipboard pieces. Oh, and I also am using some 6x8 chipboard pieces. So after you have your pages arranged together, any parts that you don't want to have showing as brown, you will want to cover that with paper. So like the back of this bingo card, I'm measuring it, and then I'm cutting a piece of paper to fit and gluing that on with some Tombow mono multi glue. Now this glue stays tacky when wet, so you want to make sure that you don't get it all over the edges of your pages, but it works great for keeping the paper stuck to the chipboard while you're putting your book together. So the other thing that I do is, instead of using ink on my pages, because the chipboard is sharp and it can shred your ink pads, and sometimes I have distress with markers too, and it can sometimes shred your markers, I like to use just some acrylic paint on a scrap of paper with a foam brush, and then I just kind of dry brush that on. So I'll dab the paint off of the foam brush onto that scrap of paper, and then just rub the brush along the edges of my pages and then stack them up as I go. Now because I'm using a dry brush, there shouldn't be any globs of paint on the pages, so it's okay for me to stack them as I paint them. So I just continue cutting my papers and gluing them to the chipboards using that Tombow mono multi glue. And you'll just want to keep like kind of varying the sizes, varying the colors, rotating your pages so that some are more vertically oriented, some are more horizontally oriented. And you can also use interesting things, like this is a time card from a restaurant, I think. I got it from a friend. Like I gather up all kinds of little ephemera pieces. Now if you went on a trip, you could put your brochures into a book like this, and you could even put your pictures, pieces of books, old book covers, any kind of stuff, you know, postcards that you have from a trip or that you want to put in here as a memento. So this one is a gift for my sister, so it's not going to have any personal stuff in it yet, because she's going to have to be doing all the putting of personal stuff into the book. Alright, so here I'm cutting some more paper. Now this came from a pack from Carolee's that was really cool. It's basically a whole pack of, like, I think it's 3 or 4 different double-sided pattern papers per color that coordinate with most of the Carolee's lines. So it's really nice for kind of beefing up. If you have like a couple pieces of paper, you could get a pack like this and then really stretch those patterns far by using these complementary colored pieces of paper. So again, this is from Adornit, which is by Carolee, and you can get that at most of your major craft stores and also online. Now they sent me a whole pack of paper, which was super nice, and I will be sharing some more projects with that next week. They have a lot of really awesome stuff, as well as fabric, and they even have like a clothing store. So if you're not following them on Instagram, you definitely want to check them out because they're pretty cool. Alright, so I'm just going to continue gluing and adhering, and the thing that's really nice too about this Tombow mono multi glue that I wanted to point out is I like to leave it laying on its side, and that way as I need the glue for my project, I can just easily put it onto each page, so I don't have to wait for it to come down to the tip or anything like that. So it has two different tips on it. It has a fine tip and it has a wide tip. So if I wanted to really cover the chipboard, I could use the wide tip, but I just need that bead of glue all the way around the edge and then kind of the swirly in the middle. So that's good enough for this project, and using the fine tip will accomplish all of that. So I'm going to continue cutting paper, continue cutting paper. This book has a lot of pages in it, but I wanted to show you every single page so that you would have a chance, if you wanted to recreate it, to actually go in and make all of the pages. You'd have to kind of pause the video because I had to make it go fast so that it wouldn't be like a 50-minute long video here on YouTube. But I wanted you to be able to see how to do all the different pages. So like on this page, I took 2 pieces of 4-inch strips that were left over from cutting paper and pieced them together to cover that 8x8 piece of paper. So you don't have to use whole pieces to cover those larger pieces of paper. You can piece together your scraps and use that to cover your pages as well. Now you might notice when you're using your foam brush that it might shred a little bit, so you want to be careful of that. Use another brush if that starts to happen. Now for your binding, we're going to use the Bind It All, and you're going to need to cut a strip of O-wire to the length for the book. So for a 8-inch book, I need 14 loops of O-wire. Then I set my Bind It All to C for cover, and I'm just using it to punch holes in all of my pages. Now my Bind It All has a lot of problems. It's very old, it's missing some knobs and stuff, but it still works really well. So what I'm doing is kind of lining up the bottom of my page with the edge of the machine, kind of using my finger, and then punching it. And then as I need to move the page over, I use that black peg on the side there to insert the little peg that's the same shape and size as the hole that the Bind It All punches. I insert that into the hole, and then that lines everything up so I can punch the next set of holes. And then some things are small like this tag, so I can just kind of eyeball it to make sure that it's punched in there. Now this certain book cover has this clear page on the back that needs to be put on last. So if you're doing a regular book cover, you would have this be your back cover of your book. Next, I set the channel for the O-wires to 1 inch and then closed my wires. And then I slid that back cover into my book cover. Now again, if you weren't using this kind of cover, you could do just 2 pieces of chipboard and you would have a chipboard back, and then you'd flip that around to the back of the book. So here I'm adding some paper embellishments to the cover, and then I got these really cool wood pieces from Carolese, from Adornit by Carolese, and I sprayed them with some Colorbox Spritzers ink and let that dry. Now while that's drying, I added some stickers to my cover as well as some acrylic paint, and then I also added these little papers from the kit, and I die cut that black one to be kind of cute. Added some more stickers, used some foam tabs from Tombow to pop up one of those die cuts. So these all came with the paper. So there's these kind of clear stickers as well as regular cardstock stickers like these ones that I'm using here, and then cardstock die cuts that are printed. So there's a lot of variety in this collection. So again, I'm just going kind of page by page and finding things that I like and gluing them on with my Tombow Mono Multi-Adhesive. I'm also using the black paint on the edges of everything to keep the look continuous so that it doesn't look, you know, very different from the pages if I was to do this with ink. And also, I'm going to keep using up the paint that's inside that foam brush so I won't waste anything. Next, I glued on those wood pieces with my Tombow Mono Multi-Adhesive, and then they're kind of shimmery, so I used some Smooch Spritz accent ink from Clear Snap to accent some of those die cuts from Adornit. Next, I took the straw end of the sprayer out of that spray ink that I used for the wood and made splatters on the cover, and then I blotted that with a paper towel so that I could get it to dry fast. And also that makes the color a little less intense. Now here I'm taking a lot of the scraps that were left over from cutting the pages and turning them into embellishments that I'm using to complement the stickers that came with this paper collection. So here I'm using some stickers, some paper strips, I'm using some pop dots on the backs of stickers, and I'm also hitting the edges of everything with that black acrylic paint so that I could get that really nice painted distressed effect. and I'm using up all of my stickers and all of the items that go together with this kit. One of the things that I've been trying to do is be a lot more like conscientious and practical in my crafting. So one of the things I found is that if I have leftovers, I don't use them. They just end up being clutter, and then I have to manage all of these like half-used sticker stacks. So and sometimes they don't even match the things that I was working on, you know, in the future. So if all of this paper and all of these stickers go together, I might as well use them all together. So that's what I did here, is I just loaded up the book with all the stickers, and now I don't have anything left to put away except a few paper scraps at the end, and they were all cut to 4x6, which is a great size for me to use for cards. And I don't have any like big scraps or sticker sheets to manage or partially used embellishments. It's a really great way to try to do things, and it results in some really pretty cool looking scrapbooks and projects. So I'm taking some of the leftover pages that I had, and I cut them all down to these 4x6 mats that I mentioned earlier, and I'm adding mats to the pages. Now this is really important if you're going to be giving this book to somebody that is not a scrapbooker, because sometimes it's really hard for them to visualize where to put their pictures on the page. So this way they can just take their regular pictures and glue them right onto those mats. And a lot of times when they get prints that are printed digitally, they're like 3 and 7, you know, 3 and 3/4 inches by like 5 1/3. So they'll fit nicely on the mats, and then they can also trim them with scissors pretty easily. So they don't need a trimmer, they don't need like weird sized photos, they don't need to cut their photos to like little squares. This just makes it super easy for someone that's a non-scrapbooker to add their stuff to the book. And then in the pictures at the very beginning, and I'll show these pictures again here at the end, I included with this a Tombow mono adhesive runner that puts dots down, and a pair of scissors, and a Tombow dual brush pen. So this is so that if I give this to someone that's not a scrapbooker, they could totally get ready to put their pictures and stuff in it right away. So they have adhesive that's acid free, they have a journaling pen, and then they have a little pair of scissors that they could use to cut the items they need to put into their book. So you want to make sure that they have everything they need to get started. You don't want to have someone that's not a scrapbooker have to try to go into the craft store and figure out like what they need, because you never know like what craft store they're going to go into, if they're going to get the right stuff. Like this way you can lay it all out for them. It's an all-inclusive gift. So it's just like if you're going to give somebody you know, some foot scrub, it's like, well, that's kind of part of the gift. You got to have like more to the gift. So you know, think about how to make the gift the most useful. And I would say, especially like for weddings or baby showers or anything where the people are going to be super busy, but they want to be able to get their memories down quick, always add a pack of adhesive in there and a nice journaling pen like a Tombow dual brush pen, so that they could go ahead and get started crafting right away. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and please let me know in the comments if you're going to give anybody other than your spouse or your significant other a Valentine's Day gift. I would love to hear about it. Please hit the subscribe button at the end, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye!